right. It's been a couple weeks. We took a week off. It's nice to talk to you, man. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you doing? You were, sick and down for the count, so hopefully you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm feeling way better.
Nice, nice.
All right. So, how are your last 2 weeks been?
It's been good. It's been interesting, right? So like we last talked as in like prepping for Scorpius, and then we ended up not running a show in Scorpius, but Scorpius was interesting. We did well, I thought, in teams,
Yeah,
and
third.
then third, yeah, and then singles was kind of like so. Like I lost to Flex in Flinchy game three, so not the best, not the worst for 13th.
Mhm.
So can't be like too mad about that. And then like afterwards, I was just felt like so tired, like not just from like Scorpius, but I like just burnt out from like everything. So I needed like a few days actually to just sort of like rest up, kind of get my just need some like relaxation days, to like get back into like the swing of things.
Yeah,
Overall, yeah.
dude, I feel that. That's actually funny you mentioned that because that was like the one thing I wanted to talk about, um, like and explore why. So yeah, I felt the same exact way. Like my Scorpius was interesting. I got 13th as well. Um, I
Mhm.
lost to Hacks and oh my god, what's his name?
Aklo.
Aklo. Yeah, he doesn't go to so many things. He stays home so often that I don't even know his name. He got second place, so I lost the to the two foxes who got first and second for
Yeah.
13th place, and I wasn't like too upset about it because it's like whatever. It's kind of funny. It's not a big deal. But I felt the same way afterwards. I just didn't feel great. That led into a sickness, but even before I got sick, for those couple days, I was just low motivation and um, just kind of good amount of self doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I don't even know how I got over it because again, it just led into a sickness, and that's all I can really remember.
Yeah.
But um, I'm curious how specifically you got over that because
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's always something that I feel myself kind of dip into, and then it takes like deliberate effort to snap out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So I think like for me, like I just felt like definitely like way less motivated and like to do things, including melee. So normally like that's like a warning sign or like I get worried about that because you know me, like normally I'm like fiending most of the time, and so really what I did was I just like kind of like didn't think about it like too much. Like at first, like I was like trying to figure out what was wrong and stuff like that, and like eventually I just came to the conclusion that like nothing was really wrong. It's just like I was actually just like burnt out and needed some time to rest and sleep and stuff like that because it was like from Scorpius to like um celebrating like Cody's birthday to like lots of things the week beforehand. Like just had a lot of social events back to back, and I think that sort of like finally caught up with me. And so really I just gave my time to rest, gave like took a few days off and wasn't too hard on myself about it. Like I think that's a big thing is like I was always normally I was like always like trying to look for a reason, like, oh, I wonder why I'm not motivated, like was it because of like me placing like just mediocre at Scorpius, or was it me being upset about something, but I think in the end, like I sort of came to the conclusion that I was like reading too much into it and I just sort of needed to rest.
Yeah,
So that's pretty much just what I did.
that makes a lot of sense. I think part of the reason when I have some let's call it downtime, right? I
Hmm.
think it kind of snowballs when it's a negative. It turns into a negative attitude rather than like an acceptance, and it kind of just go with it a little bit. To
Hmm.
like if you sit there and you try to just like tackle this um, mild, for lack of a better term, it's like a depression, right? Not like a depressive state. It's like if you think of it literally just a graph. It's the down, the depression. Um,
Hmm.
and you kind of just sit there and you go, "Oh, okay, this can get bad, but it doesn't have to, and I don't need to fight it. I just need to stay on top of it. At least that's my approach, because it's it's not good to deny bad feelings,
Mm-hmm.
or a lack of energy or anything like that. Um, it's good to acknowledge that it is bad and that you don't want it. It's not like, oh, okay, this is my life now. Like, you're not just kind of succumbing to it.
Yeah.
It's just tough when it comes to melee, right? It's like you have to take a second, you have to reprioritize. You got to make sure like you do laundry and basic necessities and food shop, and still keep your life on track. But how much of that is making sure you're sitting down to practice melee? For
Mm-hmm.
me, I've taken some time off practicing. I've like today, for example, I got a little more sleep rather than wake up earlier and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's going to be the first thing that is going to come back, and it might be an indicator of things kind of jumping back. But I don't know. How do you feel melee fits into your like recovery of, or like mental recovery?
Yeah, I think for me it was like less about like not letting something bad happening, but just allowing myself to sort of be.
Mm-hmm.
Like if the fact that I was tired just sort of meant that like I needed to take like a few more days off, like maybe like 2 or 3. And I think that's a big deal, is just like knowing that like one, it's like not something I do that often, but also like not reading too much into it. Like I don't think it was like anything negative. I was just like physically and like mentally tired from like a lot of like hard weeks either at work or going out and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess how it plays into melee for me was more so like just allowing myself to like rest, and it was being like not a time where I'm like worried about like not doing enough, but just allowing myself to recover for like the next 2 weeks, which is going to be just prepping for Genesis and all of that.
Right.
And like if you're tired, like there's nothing else you can do besides rest up. Like that is part of getting better, is knowing when to rest and not to force it, because it's like about the quality, right? It's less about like you doing it every day, but more about like the quality of practice that you're getting out of it. And if you're not getting that quality, then you need to sort of build up that energy. And I guess that's sort of like what I learned about this like most recent burnout, because it was like a very it was like both mental and like physical exhaustion this time, I thought.
Hmm. Okay. I think what I'm trying to most figure out is um, the best time to kind of get back into the swing of things, like timing the upswing a little bit. And for me, it's I haven't gone to the gym in I don't know, 10 days now, and that's
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the longest it's been for a while. And so I'm looking at tomorrow morning as like, come on, man, like this is the day now that it's only going to get harder. And I think that's the big thing, is you have these healthy habits that um are easy to do when you're in the swing of things, but once it's either a sickness or burnout or whatever truly legitimate reason you have for slowing down, and
Yeah,
everyone
just like
has it.
yeah.
It's how do you kind of take that and pivot and then get back on the upswing to get to the point where you were before, or hopefully even better, and that's something that I don't know the easiest way to do it. It's really hard um because it's winter. What I did last winter, I think I need to do again, which was take vitamin D capsules,
Mm-hmm.
and just acknowledge that there will be like a chemical reaction that happens with something I'm getting from the sun and then I'm not getting in the winter. It's purely biological, and a lot of I keep using this word depression, and I don't want to sound like I'm like projecting onto you or anybody, but it is really the one thing that isn't discussed enough within our community. I think like people will say it every once in a while, like, yeah, I've been depressed, and people kind of go through it like, oh no, okay, glad you're better, but um, realistically, there are signs and kind of canaries in the cage, of the coal mine. Just
Mhm.
oh, you haven't been waking up early and practicing. That could
Well,
be
yeah.
one of the first things you notice. Like, okay, let's make sure it doesn't get much worse than this.
Mhm. I think it's an important distinction also to call it like, I think isn't it called like seasonal affective disorder or something
Yeah.
like that,
Hmm.
where it's not necessarily like the biggest depression. I feel like means something else,
Well,
but like the fact that you're like a little more like sluggish in the winter, right?
right, and I just want to make sure that I keep it to that and acknowledge that. And vitamin D doesn't just it doesn't make the cold go away, and that still sucks. But it's just a matter of making sure it doesn't turn into a slippery slope where you start dropping responsibilities, or then you start kind of not doing as, like today at work. I didn't really have a great work day.
Mm-hmm.
Starting at like 2, I just kind of like slid by. I didn't have that same kind of drive that I usually do, and so I just think I'm doing a good job of being aware of it. But the next step is, okay, how do I just like you know make sure I'm doing the right things, um, and making sure that I don't just I'm going to there's a tournament this weekend, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know you're going to Giga High,
yep.
and I'll be doing my thing at Encore
Smashed out.
Monthly. Yeah, smashed
Yep.
out. So um, there it would kind of suck to go there and be unprepared, because I didn't just put in 20 minutes or whatever I said I'd commit to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the kind of thing I'm trying to talk about most of all, is trying to find that little bit of energy and just kind of skirt by, not necessarily being like, oh, I'm happy now, like, oh, I love this time of year, or any sort of denial sounding, um, and translating into melee results, or at least a solid work ethic. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of rambling, but this is something every winter screws me up so hard.
Really.
Yeah, every time, man.
Mm-hmm.
Last winter was a little less bad because I discovered the power of vitamin D, but it always just gets to me, and it makes me like rethink living in tri-state. Like, if I hate the winter this much, I should go to somewhere where it's a little less brutal. Or
Mm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've just been listening because I think it doesn't. To be honest, I don't think it like hits me like that hard.
Hmm.
Like I think my fatigue and like yeah, my fatigue came from like just overexerting myself from too many like social activities the week beforehand
Hmm.
leading into Scorpius and then post Scorpius also.
That's good.
Yeah, so I guess it's hard for me to sort of like give like my opinion since I don't think it personally hits me like too hard. Like once I like kind of have my few like relaxation days and stuff like that, like I'm now like back on the grind for it, you know?
Good.
Um but that being said, I think like knowing when there's time and stuff like that, like I think those are all like sort of like you can say that like oh like when am I ready to go back and stuff like that, but like I think like and then like after you're like not sick and stuff like that, there's no like distinct date you need to come back, you know?
Hmm.
Like you can both do it like immediately and you can both like wait on it, right? And like I think the thing is it's not like like a knee injury or like an ankle injury where it's like okay, you can't you're out of the cast but you can't like do any serious stuff for another 2 weeks while it's recovering,
Hmm.
and so I think it's either a mix of just like Nikeing it and like just doing it and like kind of like trying to get back to yourself in the flow or like waiting till you like really feel ready that you want to go back, and it sort of depends on where your motivations come from, right? So like for me for melee it's like I kind of knew when I was like okay like now I'm back to like just wanting to play and stuff like that, but like and it sort of just like came to me, but I think there are other things where it was like maybe like after the holidays where I was more reluctant to like cook. It's just something that like one day I just had to like sit down and just like meal prep again and sort of get that sort of going.
Right.
So I think it sort of depends, like knowing like what your there's some things that like you're more okay with just kind of doing immediately back, right? And then that might be playing melee or something, while like working out might be a little tougher.
Yeah, it's all gonna come down to just like what's most natural, or I think tomorrow morning's a big one, just
Mm-hmm.
because on Sunday I actually was at a friend's house, so like I needed the extra sleep, so I couldn't do my morning routines.
Mm-hmm.
But like tomorrow morning, like we're gonna finish this tonight. Editing doesn't
Yeah.
take long, and then it's kind of like a test. It's kind of that first. This is gonna be the hardest it's been in a while, and I'm just like very momentum based as a person. So that's why I'm kind of think I'm a little panicky with this and a little
Mm-hmm.
alarmist with things like how one morning goes.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just how I operate, and I'm grateful to have discovered that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I wish there was a way to. I don't know. It's like a weird stress because it's this hypothetical stress.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that it's not something that like is happening right now.
Hmm.
You know, like you could just. I think just personally, I would say like if this was me, I would just like commit to doing it and like not worry about it for like tonight.
Right.
Like because it seems like what's more so is like the buildup of like getting ready to go to the gym tomorrow morning is like what's stressing you out more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think it's just overblown, and it's a little like just
Yeah.
I'm just hovering on it a bit. But that's what winter does to me, man. It makes me like just overthink all this stuff.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, I can't like look into the future with the same sort of confidence that I normally do. I'm more
Hmm.
dreadful about what day it is. Like I keep looking at um, the bottom right of my monitor where my date is. The 21st is when we're recording this,
Hmm.
and for just some reason it fills me with dread. I keep thinking about like, oh, March is still going to be cold. Like, why am I thinking about that? Why do I care? I'm in a warm room right now. Like, I'm not cold this moment. Why am I so afraid
Hmm.
of honestly the little parts of the day that I'm outside? It's so
Yeah.
illogical. It and it's every now and then it becomes crippling. So I guess just
Mm.
talking about it now and just hearing myself speak and say these stupid things, that's already making me feel a little better.
That's good.
Um,
Maybe you could
yeah.
like invest in the lamp. I've heard like really good things about that.
What?
Those lamps that like mimic sunlight.
What?
Yeah, you don't know about that? That's like yeah, there are like these sunlight lamps for like $100 that mimic sunlight for seasonal affective disorder.
A sun lamp, also
The
called a
winter blues.
sad lamp or a light therapy box. What?
Yeah, there's like a thing for it that's not just vitamin D pills.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, maybe like you're working a full-time job and have a career. Maybe this is a good investment for the winter.
Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. That's the exact sort of thing that I could put all my placebo energy into. So whether it works or not, I could I could just feel like it has a huge benefit. But it does look like it has a legitimate um like effect on what exactly I'm complaining about. So that's all. That's a great call, man. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, no problem. You should like get one and then like bring it to work so then you can just have it 24/7.
Do I get like suntans? It's not UV, right?
No, no, no.
How does that work? So it gives you still absorb the vitamin D like normal sunlight?
Well, it mimics like outdoor light is what it is. So it's like light therapy. And it's called a sad lamp because it's like seasonal affective disorder, right? That's what the actual term is called, right?
Mm-hmm.
and it's when there's like you receive fewer like outlines, and it's because like sort of like the science behind it is that it impacts like serotonin and like melatonin levels,
Mm-hmm.
because like and that's sort of what like helps control your like sleep and wake cycles.
Huh.
Plus
Wow.
serotonin, like I know, helps reduce like anxiety and stuff like that.
You know a good amount about this.
What?
You know a good amount about seasonal affect disorder.
uh I mean, I know it's just like some bio stuff, and then like I know I was talking about this with like Nico before, like pretty recently, like this week about it. So
Oh, okay.
um yeah.
I didn't think this would turn into like the most practical podcast we've had, but
Yeah, right. Funny how it goes.
yeah, it's mad helpful. So
Yeah,
hope
hopefully it
yeah,
helps.
hopefully that turns into something I could just like every winter. I say, "Oh, got my lamp." And honestly, I think I'm in a little better shape than I was last year, just from sheer like, I've done this before. Last year was my first summer outside of, or not summer. Wow, first winter with a job. This is my second, so just
Hmm.
by that, I know that like it gets better. Um, I was, playing old school RuneScape this time last year, so you could see how well that was going.
Hmm.
So now it's like, okay, I have this creative outlet, for example. I have things that are quote unquote easy and consistent that I could still feel productive. Where even if I'm not waking up early and, putting in, a billion percent,
Hmm.
I could afford a couple weeks like that, of the super cold weeks. Just get home, get comfy, enjoy a couple hours with my girlfriend, watch some good television, be
Yeah.
warm, just kind of enjoy those moments. And then, come the work day, God forbid I don't have, the most productive day, but
Hmm.
just, keep up the what I need to keep up. Don't over stress, don't overeat. That was something too that I did
Hmm.
last year, was just eat all the time. So I think it's manageable, and I'm glad that you heard me out through this little self exploration. I'm
Yeah, dude,
happy. I'm
no
happy
problem.
your little downness is seems more temporary, and you could kind of pinpoint it, like, oh, it's because of these 2 weeks where I was just having a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. But I think you hit on something that I like learned right from the experience, was that like the idea of like not being too hard on yourself, or like allowing yourself to rest. And it's like it's a concept that we've talked about before, like in tournament, like on like tournament days, on major days, right? Allowing yourself to rest. But I think that's what I was learning a lot of, like, is just mainly allowing myself to have sort of that downtime, and like acknowledging the work you've done so far.
Right.
And I think that was something that was sort of getting muddled, um, while I was sort of like in this like sort of like funk after Scorpius. And then also like sort of realizing like how much you've been working hard on something, and like, yeah, allowing yourself to like have a break every once in a while. I think there's a distinct difference between like not working hard and not putting the work in, and like giving yourself a break, and like the other idea where it's like you're just not doing anything, and then, you know I think there's a distinct difference. But from the sounds of like both of us, we always try to actively do something.
Hmm.
So the idea of like giving yourself some time to recuperate is just another important thing,
Yeah.
because like once I hit like maybe Friday, because I played with Nico for maybe like 3-4 hours or something like that, recorded like a lot of VODs and stuff like that. I was like already like back to it, playing with him. And then like I did a lot of video analysis yesterday and today of like our matches and stuff like that. So I think for me, like the main, I guess, growing point was pretty much just allowing myself to have that time to say like, I'm just tired right now. And it didn't need to mean anything of like, was it because I was disappointed in my tournament performance, or was it because I was like, did just sort of mediocre at Scorpius, or was it because I don't think I'm improving or anything like that. So I think acknowledging like the work you did and knowing when to like put down that pen or put down the controller or whatever
Yeah.
was important, and it's something that I'll like think about like moving forward.
Yeah, and it's something that it's this weird guilt that is put on a lot of people our age, um, and it's a little bit of like just being existential with everything we do, and um, I know I have that for sure, but it seems like with a lot of millennial media and memes, the three
Mm-hmm.
M's, it just seems like there's a common thread of like we need to keep doing things. There's a whole burnout culture that I've read about where just people in our age group are constantly pushed as hard as we can and told that we need to keep working or else we're going to miss the boat, or this constant grind culture that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't feel good when you're not doing it, and it makes the days where you give yourself a day off that much harder to kind of accept. So I think it's really good where we're at. I'm really happy to hear your whole philosophy on it because I could just hear it in your voice that like you've processed this a good amount. Like there's no questioning, and I know that no one is 100% confident all the time, so I'm not going to put that on you. Like, oh, you're the most confident person in the world, but I'm really happy to hear you say that because I don't want you to stop grinding. Like the work ethic you Wasabi have put in is is really impressive. So I feel motivated by what you're talking about.
Ah,
I think I could
thanks, man.
catch up to you.
Thanks, man.
And
Thanks.
I'm trying to do some other things that we have to take a break. So I want to talk about the stuff I've been working on afterwards. But if you have any final thoughts on the subject, I'd love to hear it.
No, I think you wrapped it up pretty nicely. So let's run the break and get back on it.
Great. All right. Talk to you in a couple minutes. What do
All right.
you were gonna talk about Netplay, right?
Yeah. I'm just thinking like, I think I'm gonna get back into it so I can play more different types of players. And there's like a few reasons I'm doing it. I think one I'll get like um a lot of good practice versus a lot of different people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also just like easier to handle, especially since, and I think also one, it also saves time and it's always accessible. But another thing is like, and something that's been bothering me recently is just seeing um there's just not as many people I feel like in like within like the New York City area that's like actually grinding a lot, like
Yeah.
ever since like Neb sort of that, I feel like the amount of people that are like grinding and going to tournaments and also like that, and also just like actively available to grind is like less and less now, you know? And I
Mm.
sort of like think that play might be like a good change of pace to like get some good training in.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea for that exact reason. Um, because the biggest problem I've had with Netplay was that a lot of people were using it as a replacement. Um, when they had the option to go, they just felt like Netplay was
Mm-hmm.
more convenient, and that doesn't sound like what you're doing at all. Um, and I think that's the big distinction. Is like Netplay is not like I don't know any person that would rather net play someone than play them on LAN, but that's obvious. Like
Mm-hmm.
the main appeal of net play is that you could play like hundreds of more types of people with the same level of effort getting there.
Yeah, and with also like arguably better skill, right? Because like,
Yeah.
not saying that the skill pool in New York is low. Like, don't get me wrong on that. It's just I think the amount of people that like would actively go to fest that are actively training and like sort of put in the same not about the same, but like the same, I guess, passion or commitment as like I do is getting like less and less. And I think it's just like you want to find people, and I'm not saying that that's like a bad thing, right? Like I think, let me preface it by saying like for whatever people find melee fun for whatever level, I think is good. I think for me personally, though, I'd like to find people with sort of the same amount of like dedication or passion and like skill in the game, and the fact that I'm trying to find like other grinders, pretty much,
Yeah.
and I think it's a little harder in New York because there's only like a few that I can think of, and even then, it's hard because everyone has like different work schedules and school schedules and stuff like that to actually like find or to actually like play those guys on a consistent basis,
Right. So what's
and then
your
even
yeah.
then like it's only a few that like at some point it becomes less like matchup based and more like, oh, like can I predict him correctly sort of thing.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, it's always good to make sure you're not just playing the same people over and over. Um, I mean that it works for the brothers on Long Island. I guess they could just play each other and get super good, but for normal people, um, the more
Well, I think
diversity.
they net play a lot also.
Do they?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Oh, well then that what I just said is completely not true, and that just goes into the pro net play camp even more. What's your strategy, by the way? So are you gonna do like just you're not gonna do ladder? You're gonna probably do something
I'll
a little
probably do
more.
faster Discord, start hitting up like the few people I know on Netplay, ask them if they know anyone else that would be down, and sort of like get it through there,
Okay.
Because unfortunately I'm not on brown belt for faster Discord yet, just because I didn't.
Okay.
Um, and so I'll just have to like sort of network a little bit harder to get like some good sessions and stuff like that. But I think I'll do some ladder also, So it's gonna be a mix.
Okay.
But like, there's people I can hit up with that I know are like pretty solid. Like, like obviously I'll like hit up like Kody and Two and like Holiday from the Midwest and stuff like that. And then I'll just ask like Warrior Knight for like, hey, can you like recommend anyone like I could play, So I think that will be good.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's sort of like where I'm thinking of going with it, and then maybe doing some ladder just to see how that goes.
I think it's gonna help you tremendously. Um, but the tough thing is finding opportunities to make sure you're getting the land experience too. Um,
Yeah,
and not just kind of falling into some net play traps that might get you if you play like a ton of net play.
hmm
But I think you're too much of a vet at this point to let that actually happen.
yeah. I mean, I think offline, like on LAN, I'll still be working on like my movement and my tech and stuff like that to make sure that stays consistent. But I think I just have to like sort of look for more different peoples to play with, right? Because like at this point, I'm pretty much like mainly just playing Joe, Jib, Nico, occasionally Big Kid, occasionally like Beerman and his goons, and that's not sort of like giving me the diversity I really want
Right.
in it, and and Miso, those are like the main guys I'll hit up because I really like their work ethic and I really like what they're doing, and they're also really challenging. But I think within the city, it just seems like ever since Nebs died down, and this is just like an unfortunate thing. I just haven't seen anyone I feel like that's really grinding, and that's not like again that's like not a bad thing. It's just not sort of what I'm looking for personally,
Well, yeah, it's hard. It's hard to start putting in work if there's nothing that you can kind of. If you don't have a dojo, it's hard to, you know, make yourself put in that same work. So I completely get it. Um, I'm just I'm confident that this net play decision is going to be a good one for you because you already have a lot of work put into looking at VODs and these one-on-one sessions, and
hmm
now it's just let's start putting in like as many different play styles against this and just kind of start It's kind of like you've been chopping away at a piece of wood, and
Mm-hmm.
now you're sanding it through Netplay. It's kind of like working out all, trying to find these like jagged edges or weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what these different play styles are really good at doing. Is if one person is just like destroying you for no reason, then it's like, oh crap, I have this big weakness that works against 99% of the people that I normally play. Thank God I found this random sheik from, Delaware that's just beating
Mm-hmm.
my ass. And then it's kind of like stumbling upon, a gold vein. You're like, wow, I get this very condensed level of improvement just because of a happenstance of playstyle difference. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah,
most
no, I
positive
completely
thing.
know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most positive way I could phrase talking about Netplay, because I have a lot of problems with Netplay.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And I think, yeah, I'm excited. I'll let you know how it like new people and face new challenges, and it'll I think be a little like lonelier because you're not hanging out as much with your like homies and with your friends.
Right.
But I think it's something that like I want to explore after like one so many players like really have improved through netplay, but also I kind of just like am getting I guess bored of the player pool in New York. Just because you don't see anyone. Like when was the last time like I love the guy, but when was the last time you've seen like JoJo? You know,
Hmm.
and I know he's like busy with his stuff, and like that's actually I know what he's doing, and he's doing some really cool stuff outside of melee. But it's like stuff like that. Like there's no one in the class anymore, right? Like I think back when you think about like the first Arcadian, right? Like how many people were in that class? It was like Big Kid, JoJo, Whiskers, me, Nerd, who's now retired, like so many people, and it's like I don't even get to play like any of the Long Island guys anymore or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. And that's the thing is I'm not talking specifically like I'm not talking tri-state. Tri-state's still hella strong with a lot of good fucking players. It's just New York itself, is very much in this sort of dark age, I think.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
who else is grinding and traveling besides me, Nico, and Bickett? And this is sort of like a, sort of like putting on blast like, you know, other players and stuff like that. And I'm sure they're busy with other stuff, but like I feel like no one is really trying to travel out besides me, Nico, Big Kid, and Miso. You
well,
know,
La Luna just went to Canada.
that's true, but
No,
that's true.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about like the pro players or the sponsor players. I'm talking about like the more regular ones, right? Like obviously, Hax is traveling everywhere still and grinding,
Yeah,
and so is Cody and stuff.
it's tough out here, man. I mean, I was never city, so Nebs was never really like, oh,
A
the
home,
most obvious choice. Yeah, it was never the
yeah,
closest even. But you need a home, and
yeah,
Rockland County is the same way. There's no home for Rockland County Melee, and it's hard to find that same, like, even just having one fest a week, that's enough so that you get in all the practice you want. You get to take things home and say like, okay, this is what I need to work on. And then you have motivation because you want to start, like having Kami. You're familiar with him, right?
Oh, am I familiar with him? Yeah,
Having him show up at every fest that I went to, I would see him at least twice a month,
yeah,
for last summer, and we'd always money match, and it would always be like crazy close. We'd like trade money matches all the time, but
hmm
just having that one person at least that is going to be there, and that like when you're thinking about pressing snooze, or you're thinking about watching another episode of something rather than practice, like you need that. This is why I don't like netplay as much, because it's easy to avoid people that just beat your ass. You just
hmm
don't respond to them or whatever. Like it's easier to get around that, but it's important to have that home. And I hope NYC. It's not easy. It's really not easy. So it's not even like it takes effort to find another nebulous. It's probably going to take a stroke of luck.
Yeah.
to get a venue that is appropriate and is affordable. Like it's not easy out here, and hopefully Melee gets some sort of burst of support from somewhere somehow. Like something happens, but
Yeah. And it's tough. Like,
yeah.
remember, it just felt so refreshing when we played. Remember when we played before Scorpius? Like,
Oh, I
that
was
was
just
so much fun.
grinning ear to ear. I'm like, man,
Yeah,
I
like
needed
that
this.
was so refreshing. And like for Cody's birthday, Haas was there, and I played with Haas.
He's the best.
That was so refreshing to play him, you know. And I think that's sort of what I'm missing. So that's sort of like what led to my decision, you know. And it's tough when there's only like a few people trying to really grind in the city, I think. And I think it's for sure definitely coming from some sort of annoyance that there's not enough people, you know, really, I think. And I get it. People are busy with other stuff, like, you know, I just wish that there were more people that were like readily available to like invite over to play, you know?
Right. Well,
That like
yeah.
that do like sort of challenge you to like adapt and change and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, I think over time this is actually something that's going to get better rather than worse. I think as the melee skill pool kind of grows up a little bit, like because it's so in our blood to just love this game and to look for opportunities to, because fests are the best way to play melee. They're better than tournaments. They're better than one-on-one sessions because no matter what you're there for, you're with people that just understand you almost more than anyone else. It's like the best places to go. You could get messed up. You could drink. You could just sit there and grind for 5 hours. You could do whatever you want at a fest. So
Yeah.
I think fests are going to keep melee alive more than Netplay will. And as melee players kind of grow up and start, you know, making more money and being able to afford these apartments, there's going to be more people sprouting up that are like, okay, I will be the person hosting the fests. I have a dope apartment. It's off like the L or whatever. It just like it gets super easy to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's going to be a more likely resurgence, like some just programming guy getting a sick job and having the best apartment. I think that's where melee is going to thrive
Yeah.
in the future, in the next couple of years at least.
Yeah, I mean, and I think for like social events, like that's always fun and stuff like that. But like I'm talking like real, like hard hitting, like training sessions, sort of, you know?
Right. Well, that's gonna have to come from like a generalized culture. That's gonna
Yeah,
have to be that culture is gonna have to be cultivated from money. I think like having people actually believe that they could have a career, because right now, like even if you're top 15, top 20, there's no promise of a healthy career.
yeah, of
So
course.
there's, you know, it takes a lot of passion to actually do that. So right now it's just the freaks like you that are that are pushing that hard. Um, and that, I don't know. It's hard to predict what's going to happen there, but you'll at
Mhm.
least be able to. Let's say my prediction comes true, and there are these like 15, 20 person fests happening twice a month or every week or so. Then you'll just be the person that sits down and has people cycle through playing. You know, you won't move for 4 hours, but maybe every half hour someone changes. So bam, 8 people land. Like there's going to be those spaces, I think, for the real grinding people.
Yeah, yeah. I feel that. Yeah, and I think I just wanted to like air some like sort of frustration that I've been having with it.
Yeah, man, bring the heat. Put people on blast. It's usually what I'm doing. So I'm happy you're talking some shit.
I just want to see New York get, you know, good again, you know, and
Hmm.
again, not New York State or it's specifically the city, right?
Yeah,
Because dude, Connecticut, Long Island, New Jersey are all fucking grinding still, and it shows with like players like Lind and Swooper and like the brothers, right? The Brotherhood,
yeah.
right? It really shows, and I feel like it's just sad that I feel like not enough players are stepping up in New York per se for it, you know?
Well, at least we have the beacon of Kody Schwab, who
Yeah.
sadly, I mean, I don't want to talk about this too long, but mentality, man.
Oh yeah. That's unfortunate.
That sucks.
Yeah.
They him and Toussaint seem to kind of have taken it in stride. Um, I know it was a pretty damn solid scholarship. Wow, sponsorship.
Yeah,
Um,
no, very, very good sponsorship. You know, they treated their players well and stuff.
yeah, so I mean, it's hard to. There are like top 20 players right now. I think Wizrope isn't sponsored anymore, like stuff like that.
Yeah, Wizrobe isn't sponsored.
So it's hard to be like, yeah, but our boys, but they're both top 50 right now.
Yeah.
There's a really good chance that they pull through this and find someone pretty good. But man, Kody had just picked up. He's gonna have a lot of stress, I think, on him coming into these next couple tournaments. I think it's gonna take a little more kind of publicity for him to snag someone.
Yeah, right. That's the big thing is that he might be the higher ranked player right now, but he doesn't have the stream set up yet. But I think the one thing is that he's going all in on it, and I
Yeah.
feel like Cody's the type of person where I have faith in him just because like when he wants to get something done, he clearly just gets it done.
Oh yeah.
So I'm sure we'll see a IBDW stream soon. You know,
Man, what's a Kody stream gonna look like?
I don't know. Probably a lot of Netplay. I
Oh,
know he's a
yeah.
fan of guns and Celeste, so
Yeah, he could probably be just like a ridiculously good streamer. Just
yeah.
beat people up on net. Like he's one of the best net play people that has ever existed. So
He's the Netplay New York champion. He's won both ones.
and
Yeah.
like by a lot. So
Yeah.
not too worried about Kody. Anyway, I want to talk real quick about this upcoming weekend. So there's Giga High, which is making some waves. I think a lot of people are turning their heads as to like, oh, okay, we're gonna see
Yeah, it's gonna be a big one.
we're gonna see like most of Tri-State show
Most
up
of New England.
and most of New England, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't know what invaders are coming. I think there's some people from all around that are doing their little invasions. I don't know if like there's anyone super noteworthy that's not in Tri-State.
I think it's gonna be a pretty open tournament, from what I understand.
Yeah. So
With like,
who's favorites to win here? I mean, is Kody going?
Cody's not going. He's going to be in SoCal with SFAT and Hugs.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so he's going to be getting better practice.
Well, okay. Well, shit. But for Giga High, I know you got
I think
like
Hacks.
yeah, Hacks. Who would be favored over Hacks? I mean,
Okay,
Calvar,
so
right? Calvar could probably beat
Hacks, Lint, Hacks. So we're really looking at Calvar, Hacks, Lint, probably.
I think Hacks would probably have the seat above. I have
Yeah,
a
I mean
tough
he
time.
would just.
I have a tough time.
Tiramisu's gonna be there. He's really good. I've always played him.
Mhm.
I always rate him highly.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, you'll have Bonfire, Warmer, Get a War Machine. Nico could be due for a big run. To be honest, I
Yeah.
think we're really probably looking at like. Here we go. I found the whole thing. Hacks 42nd.
I want to see Jake do something crazy.
Super's due for a good one.
Yeah, this is. I mean,
Calvar.
it's gonna be like such a dream roster of people that I would want to see do well. There's gonna be a lot of team kills. I could just see it now.
Yeah.
Just like there's gonna be a ton of just they play at Encore all the time.
Yeah.
Glad they're beating each other up now, but
hmm
yeah. So Giga. I mean, I don't even want to. I don't even care about Giga High compared to what I'm doing this weekend because I'm way more important than
All right.
than a possibly career defining tournament for over 20 people. Let's talk about me. I am doing the first Melee variety show.
Yeah.
And
You got your guest lines up and everything?
yeah, got all the guests. Everyone's confirmed.
Nice. Who's confirmed, if you don't mind me asking?
Okay. So we have actually let me just pull up the official list because we made some changes. I should have had this ready, man.
I don't know. What are you doing?
I know.
Can't even advertise for your own
Here we go.
variety show properly.
So we are gonna have Pangu,
Mm-hmm.
Smoky Blunts,
Nice.
Jeremy,
Nice.
Sun,
Sick.
2% Milk,
Okay.
and Kyler.
Interesting.
Yes. So a fun little lineup.
Yeah, very fun.
This I did have Vortex, but then he bailed to go to Giga High, which is like super whack. Not gonna lie, but I totally get it. But he had already confirmed, so I don't know. Whatever.
A little annoyed.
Yeah, I already told him my displeasure. But he doesn't care anymore. It's top 100.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun list. Ipangu is probably the star of the lineup just because his reach is pretty good. He's a pretty notable commentator. He has a successful podcast, so I'm really happy he agreed. And he also is comfortable on camera. But it's gonna be a fun. I'm thinking of it as a trial, because it's something that's very different, but the potential I think is massive. For a monthly show with Tri-State's like player base, but also resources of talent, like production talent and all that stuff. My goals are to kind of put it together, make it go as smoothly as possible, have a lot of fun, be charming and funny, but make it seem like a very legitimate kind of process, and show off that, it's not going to be just trivia, but it could just be like you could put endless hours of Melee trivia out there. I think there's a lot of potential for game shows to supplement a tournament. I think the format is sound. So it'll be interesting to put together, and really it's not going to have a ton of live audience because, again, it's competing with like one of Tri-State's bigger tournaments in the past year. But I'm excited for it. I think it'll be fun.
That sounds really fun. Yeah.
Is that it?
I mean,
You don't want to wish me good luck?
no, dude, you're gonna kill it.
I just start
know you're
freaking
gonna kill
out
it.
for no reason.
No, are you freaking out?
No. I do have a video I need to make, and I'm not very good at like more complex editing, so I'm trying to learn a little bit and work with someone else and put together some videos for it. But I think realistically, once the trivia is all put onto paper, because I have all the questions, I just need to put it on like my little cards, and I don't know. I don't know. I've never done anything like this before either. I think
you're gonna do great. It sounds like you're like I know you want to I don't know. It sounds like you're putting in a lot of work. Your child. It's your passion project. So I think it's like it sounds like you're kind of getting a little nervous before it happens, sort of.
Yeah.
But I think, just keep on preparing. But I'm sure you'll do fine.
Whew. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like a really cool program and stuff like that. Especially with all the guests that you have lined up and stuff like that.
So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just a little jumpy about it, but I hope everyone shills for me once the VOD is out, because that's going to be the big thing. Is okay, not too many people are going to watch, but it's not going to be like an interactive stream type thing. We're not going to be looking at the chat. So I think it's going to just be like a nice little YouTube video that we could, put around. Anyone want to help with the next one, or any content creators want to get their video featured. I think that's where it could really take off, is once it becomes this congregation of talent. Let's say people have a new combo video, then we could be like, all right, just save the release and we'll put it on a variety show, and you'll have a slightly bigger platform to do it. Or
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it has potential, but it's gonna take, I think, a couple months to get its stride. I think that's the big thing, is not having too much expectations for a first go at something like this.
Yeah, of course. Are you gonna make it accessible like via like YouTube or something? I think
Yeah,
that's like an important thing,
yeah. That's
especially if
what
you're
we're
like,
looking to do.
yeah, that's good.
So that's
Yeah.
that's been what I've been working on. I worked on it for a few hours Saturday and for the past couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about coming up. What do you have? Anything besides this tournament coming up that you want to talk about?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, pretty much it's just this, and I mean, it's gonna be Giga Hog and then Genesis prep. Genesis is in 2 weeks,
Wow.
so I feel like right now there's stuff to work on, but like I'm just trying not to psych myself out too much, and I've put in a lot of groundwork, and there's not gonna be any like magical like things I'll add in the last 2 weeks, I'm sure. So it's just more about refinement and making sure I stay like warm and am ready for whatever player I face, at Genesis and stuff like that. I think
Nice.
that's really gonna be the big thing. Like I've already put down the groundwork and I'm still doing my analysis and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna change my sort of habits at all for Genesis, but I think I've been putting in a lot of work and stuff like that, and really it's about that and making sure I rest up for it properly, and then sort of coming in with no sort of expectations besides that.
Great. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
strat.
yeah, because there's like nothing I can do at this point that's gonna be like that's gonna change from where I am, and I think another thing is like I sort of am feeling good about where I am and like how I've been improving, and the fact that like most of the time when I sit down to like play like sort of anyone, I can kind of see like the direct improvements, like I think you mentioned that like when we played, like that it just felt a little bit different when we played,
Yeah.
since we haven't played in like a long time.
Yeah, it just felt tighter in general.
Yeah, so yeah, really just bringing that, like I feel like there's not much else I can do. I'm pretty happy with like how I've been prepping for it.
Great, man.
So yeah, just gotta play it out at this point.
It's awesome. I can't wait to see how you do these next couple weeks. We got a regional to kind of see where you're at, and then the big one, the first
And
major of the
then
year.
yeah, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be really, really tough. Yeah. Talk about majors. We have to plan some road trips and stuff.
Yeah, we do. There's one coming up in March.
Pound?
No, see me on land.
Oh, okay.
Is
See me
is
on my.
is Pound in March?
No, that's in May.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Oh shoot! Wait, is that May? The May that? No, wait, hold on. Fuck, that's annoying. I think I might be away. Hold on, let me see.
Away in May. Speaking of away, we're going a little bit over. So
Yeah.
let's
All
end
right.
it.
Well, we can plan off the record.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey man, it was a good talk.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.